Should we start?
Right. Great. Okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So this session is decoding front-end development with Mr. Yomesh Gupta. Mr. Yomesh is an experienced industry expert with over 5 years of experience. He's currently working with Apollo.io, and he has worked with more than 4 or 5 companies in web development itself. And I think how we found him is through his YouTube channel. He has been developing content on YouTube for communities and students to learn front-end development. And I think he has more than 60,000 views, and I hope we see him with more than 6 million views in a few years. I think definitely the content quality deserves that much. Over to you, Mr. Yomesh. We can talk about front-end development, and then we would be happy to take questions also.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So like Tanvi mentioned, I have 5+ years of experience, worked with various organizations like Razorpay, OLX, currently working with Apollo.io. It's based out of San Francisco. And I'm here to talk to you about front-end development. Tanvi, let me know if my screen is visible.
Yes.
Nice. So the topic here today is decoding front-end by Yomesh Gupta. So first of all, when this conversation, so these type of conversation starts, people often tell you that do about, study this, study that, or do this topic, that topic, and all that. But first, I want to take a step back and talk to you about what is front end actually, because we all been through the college process, and young professionals always into studying database, networking, or theory of automata, so many things. But front end is never part of college. No one tells you what front end is. It's a complete mystery at the college level. Now people are advanced, there is a lot of competition, and people start developing, but most of the folks are into competitive programming, data structure algorithm, those kind of things. So first, let's talk about what is front end. In the most late, and let's be an interactive session. If you feel have any follow-up questions, then please do ask. I'm happy to answer everything. And be it journal interviews, anything, I have some experience in the industry, so I can best try to answer you the best. So when we talk about front end, in the most layman term, it is the UI, the web part of any end consumer product that you see. Now this could be as simple as a web page where you see some information, or this could be as complex as Netflix, Hotstar, Facebook, Amazon, their websites, their complete web system where you can order products, you can buy stuff, you can watch movies. And coupling with that, now you have to understand what is the power of front end. So I am talking about these things first so that you can get an idea of what a front end engineer actually do in the industry, so that you can make up your mind that is it something that you like, is it something you feel interested to. Because I personally feel that be it anything, be it front end, be it Android, be it iOS, backend, be it anything, do what you love the most. Try to develop an interest, try to do a lot of things, and see what fits, what matches you. So now when you talk about power of front end, right now, if I tell you go to yomeshgupta.com or my website like devtools.tech, I'll just give you a link. You open that link and it is in front of you. The entire, I don't have to tell you that I know front end, I know HTML, CSS, I know JavaScript. I just gave you a simple link, and that link will act as a portfolio of mine. You can see my work, you can see my skills. It is instant visual feedback. That and this can vary into complexity a lot. I mean, let's say you are working in bookmyshow.com and you are building the feature where user can book a ticket. Now that is the front end part. That is the part where end user is actually interacting. Now, if you don't build that feature nicely, or if there is any glitch, then that will impact the number of people buying tickets through Book My Show, and eventually lead to lesser conversions for Book My Show and loss of revenue. So front end is an important part of the tech stack. And it when you study lead code, when you go solve competitive programming questions, there the principle is that that you have to optimize your code, that if it is taking order of n square you have to bring it out to login and login. The principle is that you have to present the most optimized code, and that is the same process you can apply here. Let's say you have Amazon and Flipkart. In front end, you work on their web interface. You define how the user journey is going to look like, that when user comes to the web page, they can search here, they can find products, buy products. And now you have Amazon and you have Flipkart, both are competing for the users. Now if Amazon takes 1 second more longer to load than Amazon, then people will go to Amazon or XYZ other e-commerce, because they will feel that Flipkart is taking too much time to load. So the system is complex. You are building systems that need to be performant, that need to be fast, and at the same time it needs to be simple, that if a user comes to your website and it is too complex to buy a product, then they won't buy it. And if it is taking too much time, then they will leave. And the entry level barrier is so small that you just have to give a link to someone. Like, let's say if we have 100 people here, 80 people here, everyone applies for a job. So what is your USP here? That if you, let's say, build yomeshgupta.com and you give that link, so that gives you an extra edge over everyone, that you can just share your skill as a proof of concept to anyone across the board. And this complexity applies everywhere. Like, you're working for Hotstar, Netflix, you're building, people want to watch an IPL match, but their website is not loading, their button is not working, their streaming is not fast. That all lies under front end. And if that is not happening fast, then they will go to Twitter and they'll tag you and they'll complain about it. So, and the degree of complexity, as a front end engineer, you work on different type of things. You work like a system like Netflix. Let's say I'm a stockbroker, and I wake up in the morning, I go to zerodha.com, I see all the stock prices. And as a front-end engineer, I build the UI where I'm rendering the chart of the trade. I am rendering the prices, which are keep on changing every second. So if I write a code that is not performant, if I write the code that is, adding latency or adding any kind of delay, then that person who's buying stocks will lose on money, because the prices are not updating instantly. So it is, front end can be as simple as a very simple web page to as high as building a very complex system like Zerodha, Facebook, Netflix. And I personally, I don't if you talk about me, I don't have any fancy education that I started with IITs or NITs, A list college. I was like a normal kid, got into normal college, but I realized that I need to, developed a taste for front end, that this is something visual feedback I'm getting right away. That if I build on something, I'm getting the right away output of it. And as I started learning along the way, and I saw such complex systems that, like I mentioned, Paytm, Zerodha, I worked with Razorpay. So Razorpay, if you don't know, it's a payment processor. So working, that if someone goes to swiggy.com and they are trying to make a payment through credit card, then our interface used to open where you enter cards, where you enter your information. If that is not fast, if that is not simple, then we will lose money and Swiggy will also lose money, because the transaction didn't go through. The UI, either if it's broken, if it's not loading fast, if it's not simple enough. So those are primarily, a front-end engineer, the job entails. Maybe it is a system like Google Doc, where there is real-time collaboration. Like, if you have to visualize with me that if there are multiple people trying to edit a Google Doc, then how would you show that? How would you make sure that there are no conflicts and it is easy to use at the same time? So this is more like what the power of front end and what exactly is a front end engineer responsible for in the industry. You get to work on different level of complexities, different level of problems. Now comes the part that where to start and how to start. Because as I mentioned, that in college, no one will come to you and tell you that your teacher won't tell you, or anyone, that database, how to normalize a DB, how to talk to TCP, IC or UDP, network layer and everything, but no one will tell you about front end. So I personally believe, like if I tell you about my personal journey, that in my college days and my masters, I try to build incremental things. Like I mentioned, that the entry level barrier is so small that I can just have a simple website, and that will act as my portfolio and as my my work, exposing the world to my work. Like Tanvi mentioned, that they got to know about my work through my YouTube and my website and everything. So I didn't reach out to anyone. It's just that my work automatically made sure that people reach out to me. So now, how to start that work? There are ample resources on the web. You can study uh, uh, basic language construct. If you are already from the programming field, then you must have studied things like loops, arrays, classes, interfaces, and those language construct apply here also. That you The primary languages we use in front end are HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You learn basic of them, then you build a very small thing. Maybe just Google search how to fetch data from the server and show UI. As simple as that, very simple. Or let's say if you are seeing Swiggy, then a very small part of the Swiggy. Build that. Now you're comfortable with that, then build something more complex. A more complex example would be, let's say we all take to-do list, make to-do list on paper. Now, how would I make it on the web? That the end user can create a to-do list, they can add items, delete items. Once you have uh, comfort with that, then you think that how can I add more functionality to it, that if user deletes it, then what happens? And keep on building step by step. And at the same time, why I'm telling that you should take incremental project based approach, because at the end of the day, like let's say you want to drive a car, you can study about what is what is clutch, what is race, what is handle, what is gear, and you can study those individual component as much as you want. But you will only you will only grow when you actually start driving. So you can study the fundamentals of the language, then once you start bringing these things together, then you will keep on going, you will keep on learning. uh, Tanvi, we want to read questions?
We can take them at once.
Okay, no
I have
worries.
some pre-submitted questions also, so we can take them all together after the slides.
Okay. So there are ample resources on the web. Like there is an instructor called Best Boss. There are websites like MTN, W3 schools. There are javascript.info. You learn the basics of the language, then you build small things. And when you build those small things, then at the same time, everyone here uses Telegram, WhatsApp, they chat, they send messages to their friends, they do everything that sort. Then if you can write those messages, then you can very well write your learnings also. Let's say I'm learning how to make a simple web page. Whatever I learn, I write it down somewhere as a as a my own personal diary, maybe on a website like Medium, Hashnote. There are, you anywhere on the web you can write and document, and that today I learned this, today I learned this, and so on. So now that is out in the world, that gives you an exposure, that when you share that on social media, share that on LinkedIn, that I have learned this, I have learned that. I personally doing that. And I was approached by Razorpay, I was approached by Google, I was approached by Amazon, I was approached by Apollo.io, where I'm currently working. It's based in San Francisco, and I never ever applied there. I never ever they spoke to anyone or anything of that sort. It's just that I built something, I documented my learning, and I put it out there, be it on GitHub, be it anywhere, so that I can share my knowledge with the people. And eventually that will act as your resume in the world. And once you do that, now the next part is, what's the job market like? We always hear that companies come and they take your test on aptitude, they take your test on data structure algorithms, uh, uh, lot of lead code questions, medium hard. But when it comes to front end, what is the job market like? How to get into companies? So I can assure you from a personal experience that if you develop skills, going about learning the language fundamentals, building small projects, making it live, sharing your work in public, the job market is pretty good. There is a lot of demand for good front end engineers. You get paid top of the line, no worries about that. And right now the job market is hot, and people are looking out for good talent. And how to get into good companies, as I mentioned, that if you are putting out your content, if you are putting out your knowledge in the world, then and you structure it, then you see that you go to, let's say, Google website, or let's say Razorpay website, then you see what kind of in the job description, what are they actually asking, what are technologies they are asking. Let's say collate a lot of job profiles, one from Paytm, Razorpay, Book My Show, or XYZ companies, and you find the intersection that a lot of companies and different companies for front end role, they are asking these technologies. That means this is the most occurring technology. This is the technology which I'll study. Like right now, React is very common. You learn the technology, you build a very basic thing out of it, put it out, then reach out to people. So understand the difference here. Let's say if I am reaching out to someone and you are reaching out to someone, and I tell them that you tell them that I work in an esteemed I want to work in your esteemed organization, and here is my CV. Please see if there is a role. So compared to me, if I reach out and tell them that I want to work in front end, and as a proof of concept, these are the things I have built, these are the products, these are the, let's say I've cloned Netflix UI, then this is what I have built. Now who is going to edge out here? Someone who is just saying that they know certain things, or someone who's saying that I know, and this is my proof of concept, this is what I have built, or maybe this is my code on GitHub, this is my portfolio. So that person already has an edge over everyone. And how to get into job companies, as I mentioned, referrals is one thing to go about. You can directly apply, you can go through My Ways, they're doing a fantastic job getting people into companies. So these are the some ways. And can we any questions you would like to take now?
Sure. Definitely, we can take up some questions now. Like, if we can stop sharing screen share, I will collect the questions from the chat and put them to you. Great. So I think one popular question we often get is, so what beyond JavaScript when it comes to front end? So I think a few people are discussing in the chat. I like it when people answer each other only. So someone is asking HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Got it. But what after that? What are the technologies in the industry and how to go about it?
See, I'll give you an analogy which I just gave. Let's say you're learning to drive a car. So now you're driving for 1 year or 2 years. So that doesn't mean that you will now move on to truck or to fly a plane. That is not how things work. You know to learn how to drive a car, and you keep on driving to master your skills. That maybe earlier you're not that good at driver, but eventually you will get better. And so the same principle applies here. You learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you learn the basic fundamentals of it. Then you learn how to structure your code better. Then you learn how to build complex projects with it. Let's say right now you're building a very simple app that fetches the data, or that submits the data to the server. But how let's say you go to any website. Let's say you go to Google Doc. Now you think about how are they going to, how they are collaborating, real-time collaboration happening. If I type and the other person is typing, let's say if I'm or if there is a Slack or Discord kind of a app that I am, or Zoom chat, like if I'm writing on Zoom, then everyone in this here 70 people are getting this message. How is this happening? So you keep on building those things using the tools of the trade. You don't need to learn every new technology out there. Eventually, when you are comfortable and you feel strong enough that yes, if I get any problem statement, I can build a system, I can build the first version. Then you build complementary things that React, then you can build, you can learn Angular, you can build. And if you have enough experience in the industry, then you can obviously go for advanced stuff like Web3, crypto, blockchain, those things, those are also part of web domain. But you need to keep on improving upon your skills and learn. It is not like that if you feel you will say that I know HTML, CSS, and I know 100% of it. There is no 100%. A person who has 10-15 years of experience, they'll also say that they don't know it 100%. There are always, you keep on learning and building stuff.
Great. So, like you talked about building your skills beyond just learning at once, because it's a continuous process, right? So, someone, I think there were a few questions in the chat also. So, as you mentioned, after JavaScript, there are technologies like React, Next, Angular, and all these frameworks. So, that they are all related to JavaScript, I believe, right? So, how does a student find the relevance of these in the industry, and which one is today the most popular? And is there any easy or difficult between these frameworks itself, or how does a student go about?
My rule of thumb here is that when I was a student, that I, like I mentioned, I go to different job profiles and I see what are the common occurring skills. Let's say if I take a screenshot of 10 openings from 10 different companies, and 6 of them are mentioning React. That means React is a skill which will make me job ready at this point of time. It could be React, it could be Angular, it could be Vue, XYZ technology. So that, because at the end of the day, your aim is to get a good job, get into a good company, get into industry. So you know, to find the intersection skill, learn that. When you get, go and see the tutorials on YouTube, on the web, and learn those skills. When you are comfortable with that, then you can explore Vue, then you can explore Angular, and make your own choices that yes, no, Angular is better than React, or Vue is better than React. You have to start somewhere and eventually build on it.
Okay. So we thank you so much. So we have a question from Anjali. She's saying that I am learning front end right now, and whenever I build websites, the user experience is different depending on the size of the screen. How can I make it more consistent while building, no matter the size of the screen that is there?
Okay, so this is one of the peculiar things about front end, that the complexity here, that when you are building a website or any web system, then you are not just building for a large scale screen. You might be building for a person who's using a mobile on a 4G network in a remote area, and you are at the same time building someone who's using an iPad or maybe Firefox, Chrome. There are different browsers, there are different screens. So, and you have to make sure that it is consistent across different screens and different browsers. Now, when it comes to that, if I'm seeing something on a large screen and if I'm seeing something on a mobile screen, then the UI is different, and it doesn't feel consistent and it doesn't feel seamless. Now here you can use a framework like, let's say, Bootstrap or Semantic UI or Google Material Design. So these frameworks are better designed. They give you the power, that they'll enable you that when you use their components, then they will render same across the screen. You have to think this is called responsive design, that you have to think first, that before even implementation, that how my website is going to look like on a mobile device, how it's going to look like on a desktop device, and draw a simple simple thing on the paper. Is my audio not clear?
No, I am able to hear you. If someone apart from Amarpal can also mention in the chat if there's any audio issue, I am hearing you clearly.
And yes, you can use media queries to make responsive designs. That is, there are multiple parts to it, that you can use frameworks, build frameworks. But if you're learning, if you're just starting, then I will suggest that please first use, techniques like Flexbox, Grid, media queries, so that you can get a grasp on the grassroots technology stuff, and then move on to frameworks. So media queries, and you can build different you can even work. There is also a industry trend where you can build different websites for mobile and desktop, but it's not used that anymore.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So we have a question from Deepshika. She's saying that there is a vast amount of resources available today on the internet. So there are free resources as well as paid resources. How do you find something that is to the point and relevant for you, has a good depth about the topic, and how can we choose the resources that would be more relevant for us or are not distracting?
So I would say that go about, go for the popular names. Like I'll tell you, there is a website called javascript.info. That's a good resource. MTN, Web3 schools. Obviously, you can go for my resources also. I have a YouTube channel that's pretty clear as per me. But yes, the thing is that go for the popular names first, because they have a lot of views and they have, they are better tested. That you learn from them, or and then eventually when you get us, because once you develop a basic understanding of things now, then you will realize that by watching a new tutorial, you'll realize very quickly that is it worth investing time or not. Then eventually you'll get a sense of things that no, this person is taking too much time, or this person is going round and round about things and it's not substantial. Then you eventually stop doing that. So I'll suggest go for the popular names, develop understanding of the language, develop the understanding of the ecosystem, and then you will yourself start eliminating things.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my next question is on projects. So you also talked about the importance of projects, right? Tinkering around things, understanding once you have the basic concepts, right? And I think every time we go into the industry, whether it is applying for an internship or a job, we do hear about the importance of projects. So how does one really differentiate if it's a good project I should pick, what is a bad project, what are a few things I should look into before building a project? And if I today I am just someone who has learned a few technologies and now I want to build a project, what are the recommended steps according to you?
See, no project is good or bad. If there is a project and that teaches you even a single thing, then it's worth doing, worth putting an effort in. Be it as simple as a to-do list, be it as complex as something like a recommendation engine or anything, or a blog post or a blog. If it is teaching you something, then it is worth it. And eventually try to classify in your mind based on your own level, that if you see something like a very simple app, and when you think about it, you try to mentally visualize it, that how I will build it. And if you are feeling that yes, I can visualize it, I can think about how I'm going to implement this, then that means you have already conquered that level. Now go to something more complex. Now pick up something else, maybe uh, like let's say you're typing on Flipkart, you're searching iPhone, and they show you a recommendation there, that a box opens and it will show you, are you searching for Apple iPhone, are you searching for iPhone 12, iPhone 13? So now that in itself is a small project, that this is an autocomplete, that how I am going to implement this. So take popular products, dissect them, and build small things out of them. And when you collectively join them, then you'll have the entire website or entire system, and you'll learn those things.
Great. So just from your answer, you mentioned about having that problem-solving approach of how you would look at a problem, how a person attempting or looking at a project would look at a problem. And again, we hear this a lot, that inculcating problem-solving skills is very important for anybody in the tech industry, whether it is data science, ML, AI, Python, web development, or AWS, right? Developing that problem-solving approach. So someone who has ventured into the tech, right? How would you suggest developing that problem solving mindset? Is there a checklist that you have? Are there some projects that I should do for that? So how do I build a problem solving mindset?
See, problem solving mindset is something that you build over time by just working on things. If I tell you, go on Lead Code or you go on HackerRank or anything, and you start solving questions, the aim here is not that you know how to write the most efficient code. The aim here is that once you do enough questions, then you see a new question, then your mind start thinking, oh, this might be the solution, this might be the technique, this might be how it's happening. The same analogy applies here, that when you start building stuff, when you start get your hands dirty, start writing code, then eventually when a new problem statement comes, your brain automatically back of the mind start thinking, how would I solve this, how would I break this down, which technology should I use, should I use React, should I use Angular, maybe this is better, maybe that is better. So that is with experience, and how the simple one line answer would be just do stuff. And as you do stuff, you build that problem solving skill.
Okay. So we have another question on the same line. So whenever I also talk about problem solving, the straight answer I get from the community is DSA, because that's sort of in tuned that DSA is equal to problem solving. Is that true? Is there something beyond DSA also for problem solving? I think you mentioned right now also tinkering and everything. But how important is DSA for a developer? Is it imperative or is it a beneficial add-on that you should pick up?
See, data structure algorithm is part of computer science fundamentals. Every engineer, irrespective of field, should have grasp on them. Like, I mean, if you don't know that if you run two loops together, like, and it is taking O(n) square, you don't know that basic fundamental, then no matter you're working on front end, back end, it will cost you. If you are using those like wrong understanding in a project like Zero Dha, where I mentioned that your code is adding delay to the system, and due to that, some person might missed out on a lakh rupees of trades. So that is going to cost. So you have to have grasp on the data structural algorithms, though the grasp or the level of expertise changes as per the field. The back end or the database people might require more. The front end touches upon less stuff, but in interviews, this is the reality. A lot, if you go to any fan companies, Google, Facebook, there would be multiple rounds, 4-5 rounds based on your domain knowledge, that how much JavaScript you know, how much web you know, web security you know. And there would be a simple problem solving round where a problem solving could be that they'll give you, let's say, an array, and they'll ask you that you have to transform the array in a certain way. Or it could be something like they'll give you some design that implement this into a working model. Those also are considered problem solving, but that depends upon company to company. The bottom line is that you need, as an engineer, irrespective of domain, you need to have certain grasp on data structure and algorithm. Don't eliminate it 100%.
Okay. My next question is again a follow-up of your question about time management. So we talked about building projects. We talked about tinkering a lot with and trying and doing things. And then we talked about having basic grasp on DSA. And DSA definitely requires some practice. And in the initial stage, to get a grasp, you need that practice. So how would you suggest, what are some key points that one can take in mind while trying to manage all of it together?
See, if you are in the industry or if you are anywhere, then let's say I'm working with 100 engineers in my company. What's one of my CTOs, one of my manager, you can say, in my first company said that your growth, what you do in your job from 9 to 6, or maybe in your college 9 to 5, that is not going to define your growth, because that is what everyone is doing. But you go back home and you do from then till maybe the time you go to work next or college next. That is the point where your growth will actually define what you actually learn, what you actually explore or tinker on yourself. So that's the point, that you have to minimize, when you balance it out, you don't need to spend 5 hours, 6 hours every day. One part of being an engineer is that, and problem solving is that you break down things. When you study dynamic programming, I think people would be aware that you break down into smaller parts, and you find the local optima, and that will build the global optima. That's the same approach, that if you want to go for lead code or you want to UI, break down it, that today I will study this much, even if it's half an hour, even it's a 1 hour, then next day 1 hour, then next day 1 hour, and keep on building that. No matter how much time, maybe someday you have more time, spend more time. But no, don't be like me, I have to learn front end in 1 week, I'll be an expert. That's not going to happen. It is, you have to break down the problem and learn every day.
Right. I think consistency is key when it
Yes.
comes to growing in whichever career you want to grow in, irrespective, right? Great. So I think we also have, I am sure definitely you have given a lot of interviews, and I am sure you have been on the other side of the table also, where you are interviewing maybe people potentially as your juniors or somewhere else, right? So if there are two resumes, two personas, where one student has just is just trying to put their foot in the door, where they're trying for their first internship, or where they're trying to get their first industry exposure, how would you suggest them to prepare for the interview, to build their resume before putting that foot in the door? And similarly, the same question for somebody who has done some hands-on work, maybe has done 1 or 2 internships and now is targeting good full-time jobs or something like that, right? So what advice would you give to both of them who are applying for jobs and internships?
So it varies. For people who are, just graduate or in college, for them, resume screening is a bit less strict in my personal experience. But at the same time, you are in a college where there are 300 people, 400 people. I am personally talking, giving this answer from front end perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, so you are there in a college where there are 400 people, 500 people, and everyone is sitting for placement and everyone is applying for a job. Then what is your USP? Why someone should pick you over your person sitting next to you? Now this is a game of probability, that when applying, then everyone has certain same probability at that point of time. But now it's up to you how you are going to improve that probability. That if you in your CV, if you, like I mentioned, you build small stuff, you showcase them that this is my education and this is apart from education. Maybe I built this small app. Like I'll tell you personally, in my masters, 3 of my friends, we got together, we thought of building an e-commerce, and at Flipkart, Jabong, and those things, this is back in the day, like 6-7 years back. And we saw Jabong, we saw Flipkart, and we were like, why can't we build this? Why can't we give it a shot? And we took help from our teachers when designing database, how to normalize it, and we built that, and it is still live. If you go to inunite.com, it is still live. It doesn't work, but it is just live, and that we built in college. Now my entire interview conversation was on that if I apply to a company, now you have to control the narrative when you are applying to a company. Let's say you go get into you are sitting in an interview, they're trying to ask you what is Java, this class, how it's implemented. You try to move the interview to your strength, be it anything. In our case, it was the project which we have done, and I talked about that, how it is not a project, it's a product that we built for end users, and how it is deployed, what kind of database I did, what kind of work. So that is how you are going to differentiate, that you have to build something. Or because if you are just saying that I know computer science, I know databases, the next person to you is saying the same thing. No, how someone believes that you are better than someone else. This is the reality of the industry. You have to put in extra.
Right. And any preparation tips beyond projects and hands-on? Any topics that you prefer to ask? Usually, any basics that should be very strong before going for interviews, since a lot of people are just graduation month is just ahead.
Depends upon the interview. If you are applying to, personally, if you are applying for a college placement, if you're sitting for a college placement, then it would be majorly focused on amplitude, majorly focused on data structure algorithms, those kind of things. But front end is a field that gives you a chance to apply off campus, that there are a lot of opportunities for a junior roles, and there you can basic understanding of JavaScript, basic understanding of how web works, what is HTML, what is CSS. Can you cook a basic web page together? Can you build a basic web page together? So those construct, and if you have something to show for, then that will give you an edge, and you can apply with that. In college placements, there are very less companies that are actually, because in college there are no per se job profiles. They'll hire you, they'll train you. You can go into iOS, you can go into backend. That depends on the company.
And definitely, maybe if you students are applying off campus, because I believe today's students, like you mentioned, put a lot of effort and they want to go beyond their campus hiring also. So any suggestions for somebody who's applying off campus? How do they look for roles that are relevant for them? And I think we also have a question on how to avoid maybe scam companies. I think Arko is asking. I think Arko, the answer is to check the website. But Mr. Yomesh, if you can take it up, how to avoid scam companies.
Yeah, I agree with them. I mean, no one is going to, help you out in this case. You have to do your own research, that if someone is reaching out and they are saying that you have to pay for an internship, then say, no, I'm not going to do that. And if even, and for for at this point of time when you're just starting your career, I would say optimize for learning rather than optimizing for money. If you see that in this company I'm getting a lot of money and all that, don't think about money. That no, my aim is to get the best, highest paying job possible. Your aim is to get the most learning. Per you Once know stuff, how to get stuff done, then the amount of money people are willing to pay for good talent is something you might have not even dreamed. So don't worry about the money, focus on learnings. And internship, go for official sources. Try to talk to people on LinkedIn that I see a internship program, would you be kind enough to help me out. And when you say help me out, then don't just say that please bhaiya do this for me and that, or didi do this for me and that. Try to show them that you have put in efforts, you have found stuff, you are trying to learn things, and now you need guidance from someone or mentorships from someone. And people are very kind and they'll go there out of the way to help you out.
Definitely, I agree. I think if you don't ask, the answer will be a no. If you don't
Yes.
ask, the answer will be a no, definitely. So we have Ritika asking maybe to share 2 cents on Tailwind CSS and Next.js. I will add on my question. So are you biased towards any tech stack? Is there some framework that you yourself prefer? And what is your favorite technology to use?
No. It's there is no preference. It is everything based on the job. The tech is a fast moving field. You cannot, engineers have a habit that if I build something and someone says that this is wrong or you could have used that technology, then people feel hurt. No. They said bad about this and that. Don't get attached to any framework, any technology. It is what the job demands. Today you are learning React. Maybe tomorrow you have to work in blockchain. I'm just saying example, or maybe you're working on Angular or Vue.js. So if the job requires, if that's the best tool for that, then yes, you do that. And when you are starting, then you can, in the market, you go and you see there, if you search the top frameworks for JavaScript, you will get Next.js, you will get React, Angular, Vue. Pick any one of them, develop a understanding, then develop a basic understanding of how things work, how data is rendering, how data fetching is happening, and then you can apply the same learning to any framework out there. It's all about the learning process. You have to master that. Don't think about the end product.
Great, awesome. So Deepshika is asking tips for someone who's trying to switch from a service-based company to a front-end role.
So see, the logic applies here also, that if you are a service based, if it's preferable that you go to a product based company. Service based companies are also good, but product based companies are, in my personal opinion, better. They teach you a lot, and because if I'm in a service based company and I'm working for a client, then my problem statement is limited to what is the client need. But if I am in a product based company, then if let's say I'm working building Book My Show, then I can build on stuff like I can think about that. If there are 1 lakh users on my website, then how should my website work? What is the flow there? If there are 1 crore or 10 crore users, then are they going to find my system useful? So to get into product companies, again the principle is same, that I'll give you a simple example. You go to Swiggy website, the entire website is in front of you. You don't know the backend. You don't know what is the server architecture. You don't know what is the database they are using, but you know what is the website. You can see that website. You clone that website entirely, or maybe try to make the best clone possible yourself and try to optimize it and try to, edit it or change colors or anything and make it live on swiggyisawesome.com, or make a website why you should hire Yomesh. And when someone opens that website, you tell them that you should hire me because I built this stuff. You send them Swiggy that I have built when you apply to Swiggy, you tell them that I saw your website, I felt it is good, but I can make it better, and this is how I make it better. So that is your USP. You have to build stuff, you have to showcase your knowledge. That's how you're going to. And obviously referrals, go for referrals. That's always a good.
Definitely. I think cold emailing to startup founders also help. We get a lot of cold emails and we pick people from there. All right. One more question. You mentioned blockchain also when you were talking and giving examples. So I feel that technology is something today which is ever evolving, right? Today we are hearing a lot about Web3, crypto, blockchain, and a lot of other things. So as a technical person or as someone who is a part of the technical workforce, whether whichever, I think front end, back end, whatever role you are in, how do we need to jump into every technology that's out there, or what kind of understanding do we need to have, and how do we take those kind of decisions for ourselves?
See, this depends on. I don't believe that you need to learn every shiny thing out there, because because then you won't be able to master anything at all. If you Because everything is vast in itself. Front end is very vast, back end is very vast. I have 5 years of experience, almost 5 years, some months, and still I'll say that I know the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot of I need to explore and learn. But if I jump onto blockchain, if I jump onto smart contracts, then I'll be neither good at front end, and I'll be neither good at the I'll but at the same time, I'll give you an example. Few years back, there was a lot of talk of AI, ML, that everyone was talking that you need to learn artificial intelligence, you need to learn all those things. So I was also influenced, but I don't want to become a data engineer, that I switch my field. But I saw that how I can use AI, ML as a complementary skill to my front end. Maybe I just give it a shot. Let's see how good it is. Knowledge never harms. So what I did was that I started studying about it in my free time. I didn't make a mission of my life that no, I'll be AI expert. I gave it some time, little things. I had a problem that I love to watch movies and I love to watch TV shows, but I was not able to find new TV shows or new movies to watch. So I was thinking, like, if I go to Amazon, they tell me you should buy this product. If you go to Netflix, they tell you should watch this movie. So I was thinking how they're recommending that. So I started searching how recommendation system happens, how uh, and then I realized that recommendation systems is part of the machine learning. And when I started learning machine learning, then I realized that it is simple maths. And this was the maths which I was taught in college, but I was not very interested at that time. So I didn't learn that, but I knew how things working. So I started learning that, and I built a recommendation engine using that maths. Then I built, from my existing skills of front end, I built a very beautiful website on top of it. And I combined that there is a website. If you go to that website, you like certain movies and you save them, then the backend, the recommendation engine works, and they tell you that since you like Spider-Man, so it is a high chance that you'll like Captain America or Marvel movies or something. So this is how you build complementary skills, that if you are learning something new, try to incorporate that to your existing tech stack rather than going rogue and learning entirely, unless you want to switch fields. That's up to you.
Right. I have two very popular questions. I will ask I think, let's see if we have time for both. So I get them all the time, no matter which kind of workshop or masterclass we are having. One is definitely around web development itself, right? So it's a vast topic in itself. So I believe that definitely if somebody is venturing into data science, so you build from Python. But when it comes to web development, there is back end, front end. Where do you stop? How do you, like, there's a full line of technologies to become a full stack developer. So what kind of a roadmap do you think, and how does one identify if front end is good with them, if back end is there? How do we need to, does everyone need to become a full stack developer? So your thoughts and opinion around that topic.
I'll keep it brief. We have limited time. So
Yeah.
the thing here is that when you go to a large organization, there is a very clear demarcation that there is a front end team, there is a back end team. You can work across domain. That is up to you. It is no compulsion that you need to know everything. If you own, the only person who knows everything is Google, and we are not Google. So, and we don't want to become. So you build a niche, you learn that, and now, like, you in data science, you learn with and since you're in college, you have a lot of time to explore things. You can learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and build a website, simple website. You see and try to do it a couple of times. You will, and then assess. Then am I liking this? Am I liking the output? Am I liking the process of building this? If then at this, you can try backend, that you build a API, you build some backend system, and then you see, am I liking this? Ask yourself. Then you can give a shot to Android and iOS, because there are n number of systems, and since you have a lot of time at your hand in college and you're so young, you can try, hit and try and see what sticks. I know people who started with Android, and they at one point they didn't like, they switched to iOS and they started liking it, and now they are working in Google, they are working in Facebook, because they as I said earlier, that if you don't ask, then it's a no. If you don't try, then it's a no. Try different things, see what fits, what it is best suited. Not everyone is meant to be a full stack engineer, not everyone is meant to be a backend engineer. You see and try and see what you like.
Okay, awesome. My next question is again on the same lines. So definitely, I do believe that you are a front-end specialist. So, but we get a lot of questions of choices between Python and JavaScript, right? Just as the core concept of it. So definitely, if you're into JavaScript, like you mentioned, you can move into different fields. Similarly, but making a choice between Python and JavaScript is tough, because you can put, there are two different sort of frameworks, and you can put effort either into one, right? So are there any kind of natural inclinations that would suit job roles for Python and job roles for JavaScript? Are there some personality types, some general choices, or how does one choose really between pursuing a career towards the Python side of technology or towards the JavaScript side of technology?
See, every domain has some sort of a primary language. Like if you are going into web development, specifically the UI part of things, then JavaScript is something which is primary. If you go for, data science, then Python or R is the language which is the primary language, or you can use JavaScript to do data science, but it is not optimized. JavaScript is not meant to crunch that large data set. Same for Python, that you can use Python to do some web work, but it is not meant for that thing. Every language has their own pros and cons. At the same time, now you have to, as I say, that you have to define your area of interest, or at least try to find one. It's not necessary that you know it right away. You pick whatever language, try and go on web and build a simple hello world program on both. You see in which language you feel more comfortable, and try to research about the job perspective. Web, every language, apart from the language from very old languages, every language, be it Python, be it JavaScript, be it Golang, Ruby on Rails, every language have job openings. You will find job for everything. And if you learn JavaScript, like I personally can write JavaScript and I can write Python both. It's not like that I'm master of one. It's not like that, because the language construct are same, loop, arrays, that mentality, the same applies to Python.
Right.
So pick one and then you can move on to another language if you don't like, or maybe if your job demands. I've used to work on UI, but in my company, I was a full stack engineer and they asked me to build a Python system. I picked it up and one day I started doing it, and eventually and the recommendation engine I wrote, that was in Python. So it's easy to pick. There is no hard and fast rule.
Okay, awesome. Great. Thank you so much. I think I'm done. I've covered, I think 99 or 100% of the questions in the chat. I'm sorry if I missed something. Again, maybe we have a minute if somebody can mention if they have any more questions. Irrespective, thank you so much, Mr. Yomesh, for your time. There's a lot of comments in the chat that your answers were very fresh, brought a very fresh perspective. So really thank you for that. To the audience, thank you for listening. Thank you for being patient. Our next session will be starting in 5 minutes. We have also put in the links for Mr. Yomesh's YouTube channel, his website. He is creating content on front end. You can find him on LinkedIn. He has over 10,000 followers now. And you can also share us your feedback of the session. The link for the feedback is also in the chat box sent by Roy from our team. Please feel free and give us what else you would like to see next from our sessions. Thank you so much for joining, and Mr. Yomesh, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to have you as a mentor for our community in follow-up sessions also.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and they're really great questions by everyone. I hope I was able to help at least one person here. Glad to be part of this session.
Any closing words and tips for everyone who's as technical aspirant?
I would say just keep at it. keep on, irrespective of you're working in front end, back end, just keep at it. As I mentioned, optimize for learning, learn things and start building things and get into the industry and just keep at it. That's all. That's all I want to say. And don't fear rejections. I've been rejected from interviews. If you give an interview tomorrow and you're rejected, that's part of the process. Learn from it and move on.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much again for joining us. Hoping to see you soon. Everyone, please stay tuned. I am still your host for the evening. We have one more session planned. The next session is on becoming an experienced fresher. So we hear this term a lot in the industry, that the industry wants freshers, but they need you to come with an experience. So what does it really mean? How do you become an experienced fresher? It is relevant for everyone, whether you are pursuing whatever technology or wherever in your college years you are in. Definitely this session would be relevant for you. We have our speakers joining in. I will introduce them soon. In the meantime, I would be grateful if all of you can share on your Instagram and talk about attending this session. I hope we have been able to give you the value of your time. We'll take a 2-minute break and then we will start with the next session.